up, all my fight fans? So, big fight just got announced. Isreal Adesanya versus Alex Pereira. Now, of course, we all pretty much nailed it. We pretty much even said it. Isreal Adesanya pretty much even said it when he beat Jared Cannonier that this fight was going to take place. And it had to. I know what a lot of people are going to probably be saying. Alex Pereira has only fought 3 fights in the UFC. And 2 of them were decent, and he had that great knockout against Sean Strickland. Now, it's not because he's just had 2 fights in the UFC or 3 fights in the UFC, excuse me. We know that he has a long history with Isreal Adesanya. We do know that he won a decision over Isreal Adesanya, and we know he knocked out Isreal. Now, of course, there was more into the fight. You look at the fight, it was going towards Izzy. Izzy was doing good in that second fight, I believe, and he did get caught. He got knocked out, excuse me. So, yeah, now we have a huge story. We have a bigger story going on regarding these 2 fighters. Now, I know what the criticism has been in recent with Isreal and his performances lately. So I do give him props for this. He didn't have to face this guy. He could have said, hey, you know what? Let this guy continue working up the ladder. It's not necessarily fair for all these other guys who've been clawing their way in. But then again, there really isn't nobody else. I mean, who are you going to give the middleweight title shot to? Darren Till has been out and has not won a fight recently. Derek Brunson just lost to Jared Cannonier, who Isreal Adesanya beat. The last thing any of us want to see is another Robert Whittaker fight, because we've seen that first one, which was very good and very exciting, and then we've seen the second one, which was probably not the greatest performance, and I believe some people even have Robert Whittaker winning. But, we already seen it. Not something we're determined to see again. Paulo Costa just got dominated. Luke Rockhold's coming back. So, yeah, I mean, we look at the middleweight division, and pretty much Isreal Adesanya has cleaned it out, regardless of how he beat him. He beat him. That's it. He won. He became the victor. And we do need fresh meat. I know there's been that criticism, like, hey, how can we give Alex Pereira a title shot? Or what's going to happen next? Or why should we go down there? Like, well, again, there's really nobody else in the middleweight division. Nobody. Isreal went through them all. And anybody else really does not make sense. At least Pereira makes sense because there is a story. We have a challenger that has actually beaten Isreal Adesanya twice in kickboxing. Now, I know a lot of people are saying that, well, it's kickboxing. Yeah, that's true. Very true. But now they have smaller gloves. In kickboxing, they have those big gloves. Now there are smaller gloves, which means, if Pereira is really good at striking, which he is, he's more of a striker than a ground specialist. That's going to be even more of a bigger problem if it was a problem before. But as an MMA fighter, Isreal Adesanya is way more well-rounded, way more, and way more experienced. So this is actually going to be very interesting. And what's also interesting that I don't know if people are talking about yet is the criticism that Isreal Adesanya has been getting from his performances. We remember his performance, obviously, and recently with Jared Cannonier, then with Marvin Vettori, and then, of course, with Robert Whittaker. All very, very slow and technical performances. Don't get me wrong, they were good. They were very talented. He was very skilled. He did what he needed to do in there, 100%. All props to him, but it definitely was very, very safe performance. Is a more respectful way to say it. He fought a very safe fight. He did everything he could to make sure he did not get hurt. He did not take chances, and he won the fight. So is that going to be that same mentality when he goes into another fight with Alex Pereira? Because we know in Robert Whittaker and we know in Marvin Vettori and also a little bit with Jared Cannonier, these guys weren't really necessarily willing to strike with Izzy. They weren't really to go after it and take that chance against Isreal Adesanya, who is by far the best striker in the middleweight division. So they did a lot of grappling. As far as I'm concerned, I could be wrong about this, but I really don't feel that Alex Pereira is going to go in there and do his best to grapple Isreal. I think he's going to do what he does best, and that's striking. He's going to definitely strike with Izzy, because not only is he a great striker, but he has that edge of knowing, I beat this guy with my hands before. You know, I beat this guy in the decision, and I beat this guy in a knockout. And that's where I'm going towards Isreal Adesanya, asking you guys, is he going to let those last 3 performances and those last 3 criticisms conflict with his performance he's going to do against Alex Pereira? Is he going to be like, hey, you know what? I want to give these guys a show, because these last 3 fights I've done has just been kind of dull. I mean, my last performance, I got people walking out. Like, what was the point of staying if I already knew what the ending was going to be? So is he going to say, you know what? I'm going to take this chance and I'm going to knock this guy out? Or is he going to even allow the defeat that he had? Because he knows, I can't go to the decision with this guy because I lost a decision. And he also knows, I don't even want to take too much chances because I got knocked out before. So that's where I'm really interested on, and where Isreal Adesanya's head is at. Is he going to take his time and be calculated and perhaps get another criticized fight? I mean, it shouldn't matter, because he still wins and he still gets that W, still collects the title, and he even gets revenge. It's a win-win-win for everybody. But nonetheless, I don't see him being much of a headliner after that if he does a performance like we've seen with Jared Cannonier and Mario Vittori and such. Because again, it's like, are we going to see this leg kick, this jab, this very slick movement, you know, again? And we're going to pay for that to see, like, hey, at home, I'm going to pay almost $100 to buy this fight, to see the exact same fight I've seen with his last 3 performances, or pay that crazy amount, thousands and thousands of dollar ticket to see the exact same style again. Or we're going to see him actually fight. We're going to see that warrior that we saw against a Calvin Gastelum, against that first Robert Whittaker, and against that Paulo Costa. But I don't know. I do not know, but I am also very excited for this fight. I do know that. I'm very excited for this fight, because I do feel this is going to be a very, very interesting fight, because of the backstory, because of the 2 losses that Izzy has over this guy. Can Izzy beat this guy? Can Izzy finally get his revenge after those 2 losses in kickboxing? Can he show him that there's a big difference between kickboxing and MMA, which there is, but just showing them that, hey, you know, now we're in MMA, and I'm going to show you that I'm the king in this yard. This is my home. This is my kingdom. I'm the champ here, and this belt's coming back with me. Or does Alex Pereira have his number? There's always just that one person, whether it's in boxing, whether it's in MMA, or even in teams. There is always just that one team with that one player, that one quarterback, that one pitcher, that everybody just for some reason has that number. Just no matter what, I can't get you. I can't. No matter how many times I try, I just cannot do it. You know, we've seen that in boxing with Oscar De La Hoya and Sugar Shane Mosley. We've seen that with football with Tom Brady and Eli Manning. Now, could we see this in MMA with Isreal Adesanya and Alex Pereira? Let me know what you guys think. Like, subscribe, hit the notification button, and I'll see you guys in the next video.